ANC NEC member Alvin Botes joins us now for more on this story. A very good evening to you, Alvin. Thanks very much for your time. You are neither surprised nor shaken. You've always been aware of his regressive and narrow ideological posture. Thank goodness he's joining a right-wing formation. That sounds like a bit of a sour grapes reaction.
Well, no, thank you very much for having us, Fuyo. You would recall that the foundation of the ANC, it's built on our non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous outlook. And that is how we perceive the society that we envisage to actually build. That vision obviously have not changed. We are in the epoch of renewal. It's a moment of reflection, of rebuilding. And unfortunately, as we renew and rebuild the African National Congress, there will be those, Vuyo, that necessarily has never been ANC that will find it very difficult to remain in the African National Congress. So backwards tendencies of narrow racial politics, greed, corruption will necessitate the cleaning of the house. So this is part of the consequence of cleaning of the house, where we have reconfigured the Western Cape, provincial executive committee.
We'll talk about that cleaning of the house in a bit, but my point here is that you never felt he was, regressive. You never felt he was morally and politically bankrupt until he decided to leave. What happens to magnanimity when someone decides to leave?
No, you would recall that part of the intervention from the National Executive Committee, as communicated by Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, was a reconfigured provincial task team that has been, given the instruction to change the fortunes of the ANC in the Western Cape. Now, Mr. Delport necessarily has not been allocated a similar role than the one that he has been elected, precisely because of the own observations and the diagnostic assessment that the NEC of the ANC have made. So here we are, it's about reinvigorating the ANC, recalibrating, but more importantly, repositioning the ANC in the Western Cape as a people's movement. We want to see more proximity of the ANC leaders with ordinary people. We want to see our leaders being in the site of struggle, where there is poverty, where there is non-delivery in the Western Cape because of the DA's very, foul delivery record. There we want the African National Congress and its leadership. You have not seen, some of them that have led the struggles for the workers, that have led the struggles in terms of farm evictions. Now, this new leadership reconfiguration will bring about a more ANC that have established a rapport here with our people. And unfortunately, some amongst us necessarily wears the ANC tie, wears the ANC t-shirt, but in their conduct, the relationship with the people has not been reconcilable for you.
But then, he talks about the sidelining of colours. That seems to be a swear word. Yet, it's ANC leaders who have actually been saying that you have turned your back as a party towards your foundational ideal of non-racialism. So, in a sense, he's actually not saying anything new or that hasn't been said before. He may have put it crudely, perhaps, and not in a nice way, but he's still saying pretty much what some of you have said or have been saying.
Well, remember the topology of what the ANC have said reflect the nature of the South African society, broadly speaking, and not necessarily only in the Western Cape. For example, the leader of the opposition in the Western Cape, the leader of the ANC, the MPL that are leading the African National Congress, is a young colored comrade in the form of Comrade Saeed Hamid. So there is no debate about the non-racial character of the ANC within the leadership structures in the Western Cape. For example, if you look at the sum total of all our regional executive committees, with a provincial task team appointed and communicated by the Secretary General, it is a reflection of a non-racial society. So it's a non-debate. You see, Vuyo, the difficulty that we will be faced with is when people join the ANC to be in leadership positions. And that is the unfortunate reality, of the former provincial secretary. It means tomorrow, if I'm not in the leadership positions of the ANC, then I must terminate my membership. And that is not the reason. We have joined the ANC to use the ANC as a key interlocutor to resolve our people's problems. So the rebuilding will be expedited. We have a more recommitted ANC leadership collective that will recalibrate, and they have rededicated themselves to restore the credibility of the ANC in the Western Cape, broadly speaking.
Well, for some people or many people, the real surprise is why it has taken the ANC so long to, as you say, rebuild, reinvigorate, when you lost the Western Cape many, many moons ago, and the chances of you reclaiming that province are, nearly non-existent as things stand.
Look, there's what we call the silver lining, Vuyo. In life, there's a silver lining premised on hope, on faith. We have absolute confidence that this leadership collective today that have rededicated themselves to the African National Congress will be able to bring about the change that we demand, in the Western Cape. For example, Vuyo, we want to see the people that trust the ANC. We want to see the leaders of the ANC in everyday sides of struggle. But why it takes some time, we also try to first moderate a difficulty. So we try to self-correct with different members and different leaders. And it takes time. So the process of self-correcting, in the Western Cape, have taken, the occasion of the intervention of the National Executive Committee. And in the process, those that has never been part of a genuine people's struggles would necessarily not find a home anymore in the ANC. So let us also be very clear here. If you subscribe to anything that abhors the ANC, so if you are greedy, if you love money, you are not going to find necessarily a home in the ANC, because we are pro-poor as the ANC. We despise wrongdoings. So those that would not want to work on behalf of the ANC for the people, will find it very difficult for you to remain a member of the ANC. And those that have joined the ANC to be in leadership positions will find obviously an increased difficulty.
The Western Cape ANC is now going to be run by a 91-strong provincial task team from a much smaller group that was actually elected. What is the rationale behind that?
Well, Vuyo, what we have done is to ensure that there's absolute unity of purpose, there's maximum unity and discipline, and that no one feels disenfranchised or hurt because of the intervention of the NEC. So we have taken the former Provincial Executive Committee in its totality and augmented and complemented them with what we call an important repository of skill sets of ANC cadres, which necessarily has not been elected into the leadership structures. So here it's about, unity in struggle. We have complemented people that has been elected with those people which have said that this is my skill set. With the skill sets, we will be able to change the fortunes of the ANC. So you'll see, Vuyo, this is a decisive intervention. You will get a better managed, better run ANC in the Western Cape that will be involved in people's struggles, whether the rural struggles of the colored people on the West Coast because of fishing rights, whether the African rural peasantry, the struggles in terms of farm evictions, whether the struggles of self-determination of the people in Cape Town as it relates to the Palestine issue, whether you speak about Mitchell's Plain, you speak about Nyanga, Cooks, Bellville South, the drug cartels, the dismantling thereof. That is the sum total of the difficulties that the ANC must be able to propagate on behalf of our people. So you will see in the next 6 months in particular a renewed and newfound track record of the ANC in the Western Cape. And on the basis of that, Vuyo, we will think evidently, we will increasingly re-energize the electoral base of the ANC.
6 months, you say, the provincial task teams of KZN and Gauteng have been in existence for more than 6 months now, but we are yet to see the real fruits.
Well, Vuyo, the first issue, I'm speaking here of our intervention in the Western Cape. I'm saying to you, we have crystallized our intervention. There's what we call key political outcomes that will be achieved within the next 6 months. That will include the rebuilding of the ANC, relaunching of branches, ensuring that there's regional conferences so that we have an organizational architecture in place that are well geared to fight the battles on behalf of our people in the Western Cape. So within the next 6 months, that architecture will be fortified in the Western Cape. Of course, you know, Vuyo, that in Gauteng, there has been systematic work done in terms of the rebuilding of the ANC. There's a new organizational ethos. We have convened a number of regional conferences. And obviously in KZN, the Secretary General have visited the province just last week because the challenges we recognize in KwaZulu-Natal, it's quite of substantive nature and it requires a particular, pedigree of support that needs to be given to the comrades in KZN. Especially given the, narrow ethno-national mobilization from some of the opposition parties in KwaZulu-Natal. So, look, we are confident that all things being equal, that the organizational architecture of the African National Congress will be far better poised, to lead the struggles of our people within the next period of 6 months, both in the Western Cape, in Gauteng, and in KwaZulu-Natal.